In the beginning, when there was no sin on earth or in man, God freely walked among them. Once sin entered the world, God would no longer walk among men until a holy place existed on earth for him to dwell. That place was a temple. The temple separated God from all the unrighteousness of man. The first dwelling built for God, as directed under the law to Moses, was a mobile tabernacle. The temple existed so that God could dwell with the Jews. He wanted to be their God, and he wanted them to be his people. This tabernacle lasted through to the reign of David. The next temple was built by Solomon under the command of God. This temple became a permanent structure within the walls of Jerusalem. It was destroyed by the Babylonians, and Israel was exiled from their land. Following their exile in Babylon, once again under the direction of God, Zerubbabel rebuilds the temple in Jerusalem. This temple lasts until the time of Herod, who reconstructs Zerubbabel's temple as one of his architectural wonders of the world. Herod does this for his own glory, not under any command from God. This temple carries minor significance with God. The promise of a greater glory of the temple, as prophesied here in Haggai, belongs to Zerubbabel's temple. When will that be? In Ezekiel chapters 40 through 48, Ezekiel is shown a very detailed description of that glorious future temple. This temple descends from heaven during the restored kingdom of Israel during the millennium. It is during that time that God will finally fulfill his promise that he will not only dwell with them and be their God, but that they will be his sanctified people who will intimately know him and not be that disobedient people. Once that time is past, and that which belonged to Satan, death, and sin are all thrown into the lake of fire, closing this age, God finally dwells with his people without walls, without any temple structure. The Father and the Son are the temple. There are no walls, since there is no sin or unrighteousness around. But there are yet two other temples which the Scriptures makes mention of. This first one belongs again to the Jews and will be short-lived. If you'll recall, Zerubbabel's temple was extensively modified by Herod and was shortly thereafter destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD. The Jews have since been dispersed among the nations and will not see another temple until the last week of Daniel. This will be their last temple built after the tradition of the law. This temple will be destroyed and will eventually be replaced by the temple in heaven. The last temple we will mention here belongs to the time period which we are currently living in. In this period, the Jews are still dispersed among the nations and are without a temple in Jerusalem. This period is known as the times of the Gentiles, and there is a temple for these times. Jesus stated here that the temple would eventually dwell within the man who loves him and is obedient to his word. In Paul's Gospel to the Gentiles, Paul states that if the Spirit of God dwells in you, then you are also a temple of God. But there is a law of the Spirit that states that the Spirit is in opposition to the flesh, and the flesh wars against the Spirit. Here again, Paul reaffirms what God has stated, that I will dwell in them and walk among them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. As in the past, God cannot dwell with sin, so in those whom the Spirit of God indwells, the call is for holiness and a separation from sin. There is only one obligation for those who are walking by the Spirit. It is not by might nor by power, but by His Spirit. We hope you are moved by this quick overview of one of the prophetic topics covered on www.WaterBloodSpirit.com. We'd encourage you to stop by, read, study, and be changed by His Spirit. Freely He gave, freely we give.